Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it very, very much. You know, whenever some really good things happen in our community, we like to find out about that information and share it with you. And now we would like to welcome back to our program from Thibodaux Regional Medical Center, CEO Greg Stock. Greg, thank you for being here. And sitting next to him, Dr. Brian Parker.
Great to be with you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Nice to meet you, Dr. Parker. And so, you know, you guys do the unsung heroic work every day, and we're awfully thankful. But the hurricane kind of went far and beyond about that. Greg, tell us a little bit about how that process went and some of the things that we learned through that process.
Yeah, we needed several hours, but the process of dealing with hurricanes goes way back for us. Trying to get too detailed. Preparation starts, honestly, years earlier. And it's from the culture of the organization to the technical capabilities and knowledge of the staff and other things that enable us to survive and provide the care we want to provide during those times. This particular hurricane was a very powerful one, as everybody knows. And on top of that, we were dealing with a lot of COVID patients. For us, it was around 40 the time Hurricane Ida arrived. And, you know, those patients are pretty complicated patients. There was a lot of hospitals were challenged just to take care of that.
Right.
And we were challenged too. For staffing reasons and various other reasons that have impacted us. But I think the challenge of the other hospitals in the first 24 hours of Ida not being able to provide care because their facilities were damaged so badly, or we were the go-to facility, that was very challenging for a while. We were just managing, so to speak, from hour to hour and day to day, and still remaining committed to quality. We had people doing things they'd never done before. We had extremely good examples of teamwork. Dr. Parker was part of that, no question about it. So, you know, all in all, we tried to put it on our shoulders and do the very best we could, and I think we did.
Man, an excellent job. And Dr. Parker, if you wouldn't mind, maybe walk us through this a little bit. I mean, y'all had to do some rather extraordinary measures in a very quick time period and move some very critical patients, and that's kind of why you're being recognized. And tell us a little bit about what that process was like for you.
Sure. Thanks, Keith. It's good to talk with you all. Just a little bit about me. You know, I'm a local guy. You know, grew up in Houma.
Right.
Went to school there. You know, graduated from Vanderbilt, and you know, been in the area for a little while now. And COVID's been an interesting time. I mean, we all know that. I'd say it's been a long 2 years for everyone, but especially, you know, for the medical community, the doctors, nurses, respiratory therapists, occupational therapists. We can go down the list of people who have been impacted, and you know, kind of combining those things. You know, certainly during COVID, there's been moments of sort of, you know, checking your own grit and see how much you have left in you, and you take a category 4 that caused so much damage to the surrounding community, and you kind of overlap that. Yeah, it was difficult at times, but great support. You know, we had challenges that we got through. I mean, we had power failures. We had to rally around each other to transport critically ill patients to another unit, and no one blinked an eye. You know, we gathered around, took a deep breath, and kind of moved forward with what we need to do to take care of the people that we're charged to, you know, to care for. And everyone, down to the cafeteria staff here, I had, you know, asking me in the ICU whenever we don't have any power, you know, what can I do? What can I do? And so it wasn't just the doctors and nurses. It was, you know, people from IT were here. You know, what can we do to help transport patients? And it's good to see. You don't like to have to go through those experiences, but when you can see how people respond, it's encouraging.
Yeah, and certainly when you see those interdisciplinary teams really come together to do that. But you say you had to kind of step and catch your breath. That was one of the things that you allowed for your patients to be able to do, be able to keep them breathing, keeping them alive on ventilators. That's hard to do in any given situation, even harder during COVID, but you add a hurricane and some power issues, and it really creates a bit of a difference. We've got about a minute left in this particular segment. Tell us a little bit about how quickly y'all were able to do that, Dr. Parker.
So the first thing we had to do was, without power, you need to make sure, well, one, you can see. So it's the simple things you never think of. It's, taking a break to pause to get your thoughts right, and simple things like going over to the window and opening the blinds to let light in, things that you don't think of. And so once we do that, how much battery life do we have on each ventilator? Does this one have 10 minutes left? Does this one have 30 minutes? How do we triage the patients? Without getting into too many details, who's most likely to survive based on medical conditions? How many people can we move? So once you go through that whole triage method, you start going, and you get 2 people at each bed to bag. If the ventilator has run out of battery, you need people power. So we had people with 8 guys carrying people down stairwells while they're bagging with the respiratory therapist. And so the whole process from the first patient to the last patient was a good couple of hours. But we managed to get everyone moved. We got everyone moved safely. You just put your head down and go.
Did what you had to do.
That's what everyone did.
So, Dr. Parker, you were telling us a little bit about that process and being able to do that. You got 8 people walking down, people with ambu bags, trying to keep those ventilator patients alive, getting them to an area where you've got a little bit more resources. Tell me when you got that first moment where you could take a deep breath, knowing that people were going to be okay.
I think when we got the last patient down,
Okay.
I think about 90% of this was done without any power. I think the last, if I remember correctly, the last 3 or so patients, we got some use of an elevator, but didn't know when it was going to go out again. So I think when we got the last patient down, we took a little bit, of a relief, but it wasn't just the ICU patients. I mean, during COVID times, we've got very sick patients who are on the regular hospital floor, and
Right.
you kind of move on to what's the next thing to be concerned about. Are we going to lose any power there? Do we need to move some of those patients as a precaution? So you take a little bit of a breath once you get the ICU moved, but then you start game planning for possible scenarios that could pop up. As we know, that eye wall kind of hung around for hours. It wasn't,
Right.
quick and going through, as quickly as we hope to. So you take a little bit of a break, but then start planning for different scenarios that could pop up after that. But I would say after we got the last patient down there is when you take a little bit of a sigh of relief.
Right. And as a pulmonologist, I know everybody's looking to you. And I've worked in a hospital system for 15 years, and I know when there are breathing issues, everybody's looking to the pulmonologist. And so I understand, and Greg, it makes perfect sense why there was this recommendation for being able to send a doctor here, born and raised in Houma, working in Thibodaux, going over to ride in a parade, in the Rose Parade.
Yeah, well, we had Billy Nungesser here. He's been very supportive of us for one of the sessions during the 3 days of the dedication of the New Cancer Institute. And a little bit to our surprise, he stood up and said that he wanted somebody from our organization to represent the healthcare workers in Louisiana on the float in the Rose Bowl parade. And he followed up later with me concerning who that might be. I talked with some folks. We are aware, I think, of tremendous effort that was just described, but also the ongoing effort of taking care of COVID patients and just the amount of the daily grind, the workload. And to me, this guy here has kept his cool. I was up there in the intensive care unit. I'll always remember watching him there while everybody had their phone lights on because there was no other light, and so on and so forth, all the way down to the other area of the hospital where those patients were transported. Now, he was exemplary in terms of his critical thinking, in terms of his calmness, in terms of his ability to communicate. And I've seen him in other situations, the medical executive committee and so on. He's just a great young guy, a great young doctor, and he's a great representative of our hospital and our entire staff and all the people that he alluded to that have all contributed to what we call patient-centered excellence. And so we're very pleased that Dr. Parker, as you said, and he said, is from Houma, local guy from this area, is representative of the healthcare industry in Louisiana, the Rose Bowl Parade.
Well, Dr. Parker, tell me how you felt when they asked you to do that, and maybe some thoughts about riding in the parade. I mean, we get it. We know what riding in a parade feels like down here, but that's got to be something awfully special for the Rose Bowl Parade.
Yeah, so it's not a call you expect. When you wake up on a Tuesday morning, I wonder if someone's going to ask me to be in the Rose Parade. With the cancer center opening, I wasn't able to do a lot of it because I was covering the hospital service, but heard that they were talking about sending someone from Thibodaux, and then Mr. Stock ended up giving me a call, and it's a great honor, right, to not just represent Thibodaux Regional, the surrounding community following the storm, the whole state, with sort of what the medical community's been through the past year and a half, 2 years with COVID. It's exciting, right? It's not one of those things that you expect to be asked to do. It's an honor. I'm proud to represent, all of the medical community. And yeah, I mean, I'll have to practice my waving a little bit. I've been riding in Endymion in New Orleans for many years, so I'm sure it'll be a bit different. But we're excited to be a part of it. It's an honor, and I couldn't be happier to share the float with some of the people that are going to be there.
Fantastic. Well, Dr. Parker, we thank you so much for what you do every day. Greg, we thank you so much for your leadership there. And just thank you all for taking a little time. And a very happy New Year to you, and enjoy the Rose Bowl.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks, Keith.
Thank you, guys. All right, and again, that's Greg Stock and Dr. Brian Parker from Thibodaux. And that'll do it for this particular segment. Don't go anywhere. A lot more Bayou time when we continue.